Hey everybody, it's Shaman Sister Sin, and you're listening to the Meditations and More podcast, brought to you by Transrelational Healing and littleshaman.org. That's me, Little Shaman. Before we get started, I wanted to let everybody know that my new book, The Understanding Narcissist Volume 1 of the series of On Narcissists that I am creating, is available on Amazon and on my website. There is a link in the information section of this video. So if you want to pick up your copy of that today, please use that link to do so. Today I wanted to talk about something that is unfortunately very important to understand when dealing with narcissists, and that is gaslighting. Gaslighting as a thing is everywhere now. Most people have at least somewhat of an idea about what it is, and it's much better understood than it used to be, so we won't go into a long definition of what it is. Suffice it to say that gaslighting is strictly defined as the intentional denial of another person's reality with the intent of confusing them or making them feel or appear crazy. This definitely is something that happens in real life, but strictly speaking, most intentional gaslighting does not fall into this category. Most intentional gaslighting doesn't have this much complexity or intentionality behind it. It's really just a very primitive form of lying, where someone is not even able to come up with some kind of convincing story or whatever, so they simply deny things outright because they don't want to face consequences for whatever it is that they've done, or to take responsibility for whatever it is that they've said, etc. It's definitely intentional, but the goal isn't as thought out or malevolent as the definition of gaslighting generally requires. Gaslighting can occur in any situation with any kind of person, but it's extremely common with narcissists. When dealing with narcissistic personalities specifically, there is also a phenomenon that we could call unintentional gaslighting. This is where the narcissist is denying, reframing, or misconstruing things because that's what they really believe happened. We call it unintentional because it's not necessarily being done on purpose, but it's still gaslighting in the sense that the effect on the victim is still the same. Narcissists don't live in the same reality that everybody else lives in. They really don't. Their perception is legitimately affected and distorted, often extremely affected and distorted. They generally don't see things or people the way that they actually are, including themselves. They generally don't experience things the way they actually happen. They're not listening. They don't pay attention. They can't understand what other people are saying, nor can they see beyond their own feelings and conclusions to understand anything else. This is a person who truly does not see things the way that you do. And this is much, much more than just a difference of perspective or looking at the same things differently. They genuinely do not see what other people see. They genuinely do not experience what other people experience. They genuinely don't think what other people think. They don't come to the conclusions that other people come to. Because of this, gaslighting from narcissists is different. It's a lot more than just intentional lying and denying. It is a completely immersive experience where someone is consistently and relentlessly inundated with information that does not match their lived experience. This is not just someone lying and denying or making up things that drive you crazy. As horrible as that is, and as much as that may actually be going on at the same time too, when you're dealing with a pathologically narcissistic personality, you're dealing with someone who is not having the same lived experience that you are having, even when you're both existing in the same place together. This means there is never a break from the effects of gaslighting because this person genuinely believes things are happening differently than you do and is asserting this different reality into the situation nonstop. It is not something that only happens sometimes. It's not something that even has an angle or a motive behind it all the time. It just is. And it never stops because it is their actual lived experience as they're perceiving it. The damage and confusion that this ever-present assault on reality can inflict on people really cannot be overstated. It probably can't even be adequately explained in a way that people who have not experienced it can really understand. The effects of this constant conflict with someone's lived experience with their reality can be devastating, especially for children. It can leave people completely confused and unsure about what is actually happening. Even strong people who are very grounded in reality can be affected eventually. It's extremely damaging to have someone continuously and consistently reframing, rewriting, and reimagining every single thing that happens in life, particularly when it's all being reframed, reimagined, and rewritten into the narrative that they are the bad guy or the idiot or the abuser or whatever the negative thing is. This is something that differentiates narcissistic abuse from other kinds of abuse. It differentiates narcissistic gaslighting from other people. Narcissistic abuse isn't just whatever kind of abuse that happens to be perpetuated by narcissists. Narcissistic abuse refers to the type of abuse being perpetuated, not who it's being perpetuated by. And it means that the victim's ego, their literal sense of self, is being attacked and abused. Victims of narcissistic abuse are consistently, relentlessly told that they are someone other than who they actually are. They are interacted with and reacted to as if they are someone other than themselves, as if they are somebody that they're not. They are constantly told that they think, feel, believe, do, and say things that they don't. No amount of denial, explaining, or proof changes that. Whether positive or negative, victims are never seen for who they are at any time. And the reality that the narcissist is continually asserting about the victim does not match objective actuality or lived experience in any way. This is the type of gaslighting that victims of narcissistic abuse are subjected to. It is a relentless assault on their reality, personhood, and sense of self that literally never stops because they're dealing with someone who has a flexible relationship with the truth, to put it lightly, and who, even when they're not consciously lying, cannot seem to perceive things accurately anyway. It's just not a sustainable situation in any way. It really isn't. This person is simply not living in the same reality that you are, and this does not change, which means it never stops. When we say it never stops, that's not a metaphor. It's not hyperbole. It is the literal reality. Dealing with a narcissist is dealing with someone who is perceiving and understanding virtually everything that happens completely differently than you are, to the degree that they may even believe things happened when they did not. They are delusional in this sense, and you cannot have any kind of relationship or even a conversation with someone who's in a different reality than you are. That is the biggest reason these relationships can't work, and many people don't understand how serious this situation really is. Even if the narcissistic personality were not constantly trying to punish others, to control others, and to force their own negative feelings onto those in their environment, which they are, the situation is still not sustainable because this person cannot see or understand things and people as they really are, and this is not something that can be overcome or worked around somehow. Reality has to mean something. Otherwise, it's like living in a cartoon where normal laws of reason, logic, and physics just don't apply. But beyond that, even, it is dehumanizing to never be seen for who you are, to never matter in any way, for someone to refuse to allow you to have your own thoughts, feelings, and beliefs, for someone to continuously force words into your mouth, for someone to tell you who you are, what you think, what you feel, what you said, what you meant, what you believe, and then to be called a liar, laughed at, scorned, dismissed, ignored, attacked, and whatever else the narcissist does every single time you try to assert these things for yourself. Even if a narcissist never succeeds in convincing the victim that they in fact are a bad person, the pain and stress of constantly trying to be seen and heard, of constantly trying to defend yourself against utter nonsense for no reason beyond some idea in somebody's head, of constantly trying to anticipate how and by what this person will get hurt or insulted or offended, all of these things get to anybody eventually, and it doesn't usually take very long in most situations due to the intensity and the continuous nature of the gaslighting here. Even if someone is never convinced that they're a bad person, they eventually get exhausted by the situation and they become tired of being treated this way. A considerate, decent person cannot stand up against this anyway because by default, they will make serious attempts to understand where the narcissist is coming from, as if the narcissist's delusional criticisms or accusations are valid somehow. They will consider the narcissist's point of view. They will attach importance to the narcissist's words and perceptions. They will, in short, attempt to deal with the narcissist the way they would deal with any other rational adult. The problem is, the narcissist is not a rational adult. The things they are saying in these situations legitimately don't deserve any consideration at all. What is not just complete and utter bullshit being senselessly spewed out by a person who has more feelings than sense is the truly misbegotten, misconstrued, misunderstood perceptions and conclusions of a person with a severe, untreated mental health problem. There's no reason to give these things any weight, consideration, or importance whatsoever, unless, of course, they're threats. Many narcissists will even say things to that effect afterward. They may completely dismiss the things that they've said or done as venting or as just things that happened because they were upset. And this is, of course, more gaslighting. Existing in such a conflicted, conflated, delusional world is extremely difficult for people. It's extremely damaging, and again, it's likely impossible to convey the seriousness, the consuming nature of this to people who haven't experienced it. Gaslighting, when dealing with narcissists, hits differently. It is much, much more than just lying or denying or making things up. It is the actual state of the relationship and of someone's reality when they interact with a narcissist. Up is down, good is bad, black is white, left is right. Nothing makes any sense. Nothing is logical, nothing is rational. You are swimming in a toxic soup all the time, and it's all you can do to keep your head above water just so that you don't drown in it. What's even worse, and if anyone hasn't ever dealt with this, they're probably thinking, how could it get worse than this? But it does. Is that the entire time this is happening, many narcissists will claim that you are gaslighting them. Part of this is because gaslighting is a very in vogue term right now, and narcissists often glom on to fads and things like that. But part of it is that due to their extremely affected perception, they may in fact believe that this is true. After all, what is gaslighting? It's intentionally and maliciously telling someone that their version of reality is false or incorrect so that you can manipulate or otherwise gain the upper hand in the situation somehow. And isn't that exactly what they believe they are experiencing according to their perception? Isn't that exactly what so many of them believe is happening to them? Isn't that the entire reason you can't just correct them over small things and everybody just move on with their lives? You bet it is. And complicating the issue even more is that so many of the quote gaslighting phrases out there include things that people say to narcissists because they're actually true. Like, you're overreacting. That never happened. That's all in your head. I was just kidding. That isn't what I meant. I never said that. The problem is that this information is just put out with no context or anything else, and the result is that people now believe that anytime these phrases are used, it's automatically gaslighting. That's false. For it to be gaslighting, these things have to be, at the very least, false. They have to be not true. If they're not, it's not gaslighting. For example, it isn't gaslighting to tell someone that you never said something if you really did not. It isn't gaslighting to tell someone you were just kidding if you really were. Narcissists seeing these things are able to use them to further gaslight victims into believing that they are the bad guy, they are the abuser, they are the crazy one. It is especially damaging when accusations of gaslighting are used to gaslight victims in this way. Now try wrapping your brain around that. It happens a lot with covert narcissists, but the claim of being constantly offended or constantly having hurt feelings can occur with any kind of narcissist or toxic personality. When someone constantly claims to be hurt, offended, insulted, or otherwise harmed, even by things that are innocent or even kind, that have been twisted out of proportion into something bad, it is absolutely within the realm of possibility that they might be told, you're being too sensitive or you're overreacting, because they are. They are being too sensitive. They are overreacting. When the toxic personality can then turn around and say that they've now been doubly harmed because the victim used a certain phrase, and this automatically proves that the toxic personality is being horribly abused, this effectively destroys the victim's ability to defend themselves, and perhaps even more damaging, it shuts down their ability to reality test. Because if they look it up, they will see that these are considered abusive things to say. Victims are left with nothing they can say or do to assert reality at all, because any assertion of reality can be called gaslighting, and anything outside of asserting reality can be taken as agreeing with the narcissist that the victim is the problem, which is an even worse option. Narcissists can be gullible, and they are often afflicted by a sort of like a tunnel vision. So seeing these phrases repeatedly listed as, quote, abusive with little to no context whatsoever only reinforces to them that anyone saying these things is mistreating them. And now they have proof. So God help you. People in relationships with narcissists are offered what is in effect a Hobson's choice. This is a scenario in which multiple choices appear to be being offered, but there really is only a single thing being given. Such as the situation we just described, where if you agree with me, you're bad, but if you don't agree with me, you're also bad. And in a broader context, narcissists appear to offer multiple things that they can be or do, but it's an illusion. As Father Merrin said in The Exorcist, there is only one. The bad side comes with the good side. The crazy side comes with the reasonable side. The light comes with the dark. The abusive side comes with the loving side. Dr. Jekyll is Mr. Hyde. There's no separation of this possible, regardless how much this person may try to tell you that there is. Whether that's through blaming you, or blaming somebody else, or drugs and alcohol, or claiming that it's just not who they really are, or anything else. However they try to distance themselves from this, it doesn't matter. Whenever you deal with pathologically narcissistic personalities, they're selling you the same thing over and over again. No matter how it appears and no matter what they say, you are being sold an unstable person with no real ability to create or sustain healthy reactions to things, no real identity to speak of, who has enormous difficulty perceiving things, people, situations, just reality in general, correctly. And it is an act of salesmanship, often more specifically what is known as a bait and switch. This is where people are baited into buying something that is not what they actually end up getting. It's usually something that's not as good of quality as the thing that they were lured in with, or something that is of commensurate quality but is actually more expensive than what they were originally told. For example, when something expensive seems to be available for a very low price, but whenever you get it, it's a low quality copy of the thing that it claims to be. That's a bait and switch. This is what narcissistic gaslighting attempts to obfuscate from both the narcissist and from everybody around them. Like in The Wizard of Oz, where the awe-inspiring, terrifying wizard was revealed to be just some little old guy pushing levers and using sound effects. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. You're not supposed to know you ended up with something that isn't what you thought it was until after it's too late to stop the transaction, and now you're stuck with it. The good thing is, it's never too late. You can at any time decide that you have had enough and you don't want to interact with this person anymore. Even if somehow you are required to do so, such as, for example, there's a court order in place, you can limit this as much as possible and you do not have to invest your emotional energy into it at all. That is how you protect yourself. The way to defeat gaslighting is not to force the gaslighter to admit they're lying or to convince them that your perception is more valid than theirs or anything like that. The way to defeat gaslighting is to know that it's happening. The bulk of the power that things like gaslighting have over other people comes from the fact that people are not educated about what's going on and therefore they just don't know. Once they do know, the bulk of the power of something like gaslighting disappears. Once people learn to take a step back and evaluate the situation and really look at it, they can usually see what's going on pretty clearly. This is the key. Narcissists and other toxic personalities attempt to control others by using their own emotional reactions against them. They provoke and attack and dismiss and ignore and do all the things they do in order to get people to react to them. Whether they know why they're doing it or how it works or not, and many of them don't, it doesn't matter because they know that doing this creates a situation where they can somehow take the upper hand, or at the very least, they're not the only ones who are upset, which probably feels like things are then a little more equal since they're now not the only bad ones. Once others are upset or once others can be attacked somehow, the others are now more worried about defending themselves. The subject has been shifted away from the narcissist and or whatever it is that they didn't want to address or to face. That's what gaslighting is at its core. It's a misdirection. It's an obfuscation. Gaslighting from narcissists is ever present, which means that interactions are literally nothing but relentless misdirection, relentless obfuscation. And it's much more than just words. Everything this person does is gaslighting because all of their thoughts, feelings, beliefs, responses, actions, and reactions are based on their lived experience of a reality that does not match actuality. Everything that doesn't go along with that is dismissed, attacked, denied, or deflected. For other people, it's like being in a movie that they didn't know they were in and cannot exit. They can't get out of it. There are scripts, roles, a plot, even a history here that people were and may still largely be completely unaware of, but have to try to navigate and live within every day, all without ever being told what these things even are. This is so damaging to people, not just because it's gaslighting with all the harm and the confusion that this entails just all by itself, but also because it's impossible. People legitimately cannot navigate a landscape that they don't understand, especially when the reason that they don't understand it is because it does not align with any version of reality or with their own lived experience in any way that they can see. For narcissists, reality itself is threatening. It's an aggression. It is the enemy. In order to fight that enemy, they have to create a reality they can tolerate. In order to preserve this created tolerable reality, they have to disregard, dismiss, deflect, or dismantle actuality, which means they have to essentially neutralize the reality of those around them when it doesn't agree with theirs, and it very often doesn't because the narcissist's tolerable reality isn't reality at all. It's a childish fantasy in which they and everyone around them become something other than what they truly are. For most people, when they engage in a fantasy, it's harmless. When reality intrudes on that fantasy and exposes it as a fantasy, this is disappointing or it's sad, but it's usually not that big of a deal. For narcissists, it's life-threatening. When faced with the reality of who and what they really are, what everything really is, narcissists cannot tolerate that. They rage against it. They attempt to avoid it, deny it, or even destroy it in order to keep from having to face and accept it. Gaslighting in narcissistic relationships is one of the ways they attempt to prevent that from happening. You didn't see what you think you saw. You didn't hear what you think you heard. That can't be allowed to be true, because if it is, then the tolerable reality is false. And if the tolerable reality is false, the only option left is an intolerable, aggressive, threatening, humiliating, shameful existence where not only are they not special and amazing and superior and exempt and whatever else, they're actually not that good of a person at all. Many narcissists have done some really terrible things, and if they lose their fantasy, if they lose that tolerable reality, they lose their ability to avoid, deny, or justify that behavior. This cannot be allowed to happen. Unlike non-narcissistic people who would be able to adjust to this, narcissists cannot. The result? Assimilation by force into the narcissist's tolerable reality where, more often than not, you are a villain somehow. When the narcissist remains a victim, for example, they remain blameless, they remain justified, and they cannot be held accountable for anything. Facing reality would force them to accept that that's false, that they are responsible for things, that they are to blame for things, that their behavior is not justified, and that they are accountable for their actions. You can see why this is not just unappealing, but actually extremely threatening to many, many pathologically narcissistic personalities. It doesn't matter if you agree with their reality or not either, because if you're dealing with them, if you're around them, you will be forcefully assimilated into it, whether you want to be assimilated or not. They will behave as if their reality is actuality, no matter how much conflicts with others that this creates, and generally it creates a lot. Just remember that their conflict isn't really with you or with any other person. Not really. It's with reality. Narcissists are at war with reality. You have taken reality's side over theirs. Now you are the enemy too. Even if you only injected reality into the situation by accident, which you will do repeatedly because you don't live in their reality. It doesn't even matter if it's an accident or not. You did it, and now it's been done. It isn't enough either just to hold space for their distorted perception or just to try to understand that or to say that you get why they believe this, etc., etc. You must agree that their perception is not just the true perception, but the only perception. It must become your lived experience. Anything less is a betrayal of the worst kind on the deepest level imaginable. You see, the narcissist fantasy doesn't work without the cooperation of literally everybody around them. And when other people won't willingly offer their cooperation, they will be tricked, threatened, manipulated, or otherwise forced into providing that. This is where gaslighting comes in, both intentional and unintentional. As you can see, gaslighting from narcissists is much, much more than using words to deny things or confuse other people or make things up. It is the entire environment around these personalities. It's the entire foundation of the relationship, and it does not stop until you are away from them. And while you can defeat much of the power of gaslighting by knowing that it's happening and being cognizant of your reality, your reactions, and just your stuff in general, this doesn't prevent it from affecting you in some ways. It's like being in a room with poison gas. Knowing there's poison gas in the room is imperative. It's very important to understand what's going on and how it's affecting you. However, knowing it's there does not protect you if you continue to be exposed to it. It can still hurt you even knowing that it's there. You have to get out of the room and away from the gas. It's the same with this. There is no successful or even safe way to deal with someone who lives in a completely different reality than you do. If you think about your interactions with the narcissist that you've known, their interactions with other people, the way that they perceive things, their reactions, their mindsets, you will see that this is true. They legitimately don't have the same lived experience that you are having in the same situations. It's just not a thing. Therefore, there is no way to create a shared reality or to even communicate with this person successfully. It's like trying to describe the color blue to a person who's been blind their entire life. It can't be done. The only thing that can be done is to realize what this is and move on in whatever way is feasible for you. I hope that clears a few things up for you. As always, I look forward to your comments, questions, and suggestions, so please keep those coming. Transrelational Healing is out and available on Amazon and littleshaman.org, so you can get your copy of that today. I take appointments online, over the phone, via text, via messenger, via email, and through Skype worldwide. So if you are interested in speaking with me one-on-one, you can visit littleshaman.org to do that. I teach workshops, clinics, and seminars throughout the year. So if you are interested in seeing what we are running this month, you can visit littleshaman.org to do that. And if you're interested in joining our support group with access to exclusive content and weekly support meetings plus more, you can visit littleshaman.org to do that as well. You've been listening to the Meditations and More podcast brought to you by Transrelational Healing and littleshaman.org. That's me, Little Shaman. May the Great Spirit bless you. Have a beautiful day.
If you've been struggling through dealing with or recovering from an unhealthy relationship with a narcissist or other toxic personality, the Little Shaman has a catalog of over 500 YouTube videos designed to support your journey from discovery to recovery. You can also find additional resources on the Little Shaman website, including tools, courses, workshops, a support group with weekly meetings, and one-on-one appointments with the Little Shaman that are open to clients worldwide. There's even an AI chatbot built and trained exclusively by the Little Shaman using her work that can answer questions 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. For more information, visit littleshaman.org. You can listen to The Little Shaman wherever you find your favorite podcasts.